another edition of the Obi One Podcast made possible by BetWinner. It's John Obi Mikel, it's myself, Chris McCarty. We're back. I've returned from London. I'm in the studio this week. It was Joe Cole last week. Yep. John, he was awesome. Gotta say that.
He was ace. He was ace.
Love Joe.
He was
Zizou,
really good.
as you call him.
Zizou, like I call him. Yeah, like we all call him.
Heck of a nickname.
Heck of a player. A player who served the club. I mean, I didn't even know he was a ball boy for the club as well. You know, and he just said it the other day. But I mean, it just shows that, you know, a kid who followed his dream and now, you know, achieved his dream of playing for the club that he loved, you know, was a ball boy for the club. And to be able to achieve what he achieved with the club was absolutely amazing. Great guy, great footballer. But a guy that you know, when the ball hits his feet, you guys are scratching your head to get it off him because he never wants to pass the ball.
Oh no! Well, I'm interested for our next guest because we've got a lot of Chelsea fans. Obviously, you're a Chelsea legend. A lot of Chelsea fans listen and watch this podcast. We've got a lot of Nigerians, your compatriots. Of course, we've had Victor Osimhen, we've had Victor Boniface. Episode 10, it's our first guest who isn't Nigerian and who hasn't played for Chelsea.
Yeah.
So I'm keen to know how this one's going to go down. But this fella, you've been on his podcast. Talk to me about Rio Ferdinand and the respect that you have for him.
Oh, top man. I mean, I've known Rio since I was 16, 17 when I went to trials at United. I actually met him and we spoke about it when I was in his podcast in London when I met him. We talked about it just briefly and he was like, you remember when, you know, we finished practice, me and you and the gaffer obviously invited me to come train with the big boys back then. And then after training, Rio took me to go and watch the under 17s youth team training. For some reason, he had something, you know, he wanted to go watch the training that day. And it was like, come on, John Boy, let's go watch training. And then we actually we sat outside the pitch, just next to the pitch on the grass, watching the first, the under 17s train. And then he said to me, listen, this is what you hear now. And the gaffer really, really likes you. And the gaffer wants you here at the club. And we all want you to sign for the club. And I don't know if that was arranged by Fergie.
Right, Rio, take John.
If it was staged by Fergie.
Tell him we love him. And he'll sign.
Yeah, so he gave me the whole bigging about the club and all that. And we had actually that was when actually my friendship with Rio actually started. But then obviously I didn't sign for the club, and for many years the relationship fell off. And every time we played against United, I was looking at him. I was gonna say something to him, but during the game, obviously the pressure, the emotions running high, and he wasn't even looking at me. I was like, sometimes I was trying to look at him, giving the eye, but he wasn't even looking at me, or something like that. So I thought, oh shit, I think he's upset that I didn't sign for United. But then that was the story. But I mean, what a legend for the club. Played for the club for, I think, 13, 14 years.
Yeah, joined 2002, was it, after the World Cup, and then played all the way through. Yeah. Left the club, David Moyes the season after, so he would have left in 2014, I think. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think it was
12 years.
I think this day and age, he would have been the perfect defender for so many clubs this day and age, because obviously you know how good he is. Quick, good on the ball. He likes to play out from the back. Obviously, it wasn't what the managers back then wanted. But right now, Rio would have been perfect because he can play out of the back. He's quick, he's strong. He would have been perfect.
I know these two fellas, and we'll probably not go there with Rio, don't see eye to eye, JT and Rio, well-documented reasons. But as a partnership, you think about what John Terry was and you think what Rio was. They're a partnership.
Amazing. Obviously, you have the JT, who is perfect in terms of timing the ball and timing where the ball is going to land. Great timing, great vision of how the game is, you know, playing. You know, JT can just sit there and read the game and know exactly where, you know, the crosses are going to come in from, and he's there. You know, you're looking at who's clearing the ball, who's tackling, who's putting the head there. And that's what JT gives you. But obviously, Rio is this guy, you know, very, very good on the ball, can play out from the back, strong, quick, I think they both complement each other.
Yeah,
So it would. Yeah,
absolutely.
perfect.
Well, I'm delighted to say that Rio's now joined us. I don't know where he is. I think he looks as if he's in a hotel. But Rio, great to have you on the podcast. It is the Obi One Podcast. It's episode 10. It's made possible by, of course, our good friends at Bet Winner. How are you, my friend? Great to have you on the show.
I'm delighted to be with you guys, man. I've been watching you guys from afar. Don't worry, man. The last time, John, you came on the show, obviously you were launching your podcast and you guys are going from strength to strength. So I love what you guys are doing. You came on my show, Rivalry 5, so I've got to come on yours, man. I'm looking forward to it. What's going on, guys?
I came on yours and I dropped lots of juices, didn't I?
Yeah, it was gems. You're dropping gems, you're dropping bombs, the lot.
I did. No pressure for you then, Rio. Listen, it is great to have you on the podcast and so many questions. I guess the first port of call, you know, we've got a legend of Chelsea to my right. We've got a legend of Man United on the screen with us. The rivalry between those two teams, Rio, when you look back on United Chelsea, you know, all those battles with Fergie and Mourinho, when you look back on it, what's the kind of memories that stand out?
Battles. It was one of the toughest. I think that Chelsea team was probably our toughest team we played, and the toughest team that kind of stayed around over a period of time as well. We had tough games against like Arsenal at times, but a team we knew every time around that period that would come to Old Trafford or would go to Stamford Bridge, we knew it was what time it was. We knew it was a tough game, and we had to be at our best. I don't think there were many occasions when one of us wasn't at our best to beat the other. And that says a lot about the two teams and the character in the two teams because, again, we played some huge games, FA Cup finals, Champions League finals, title decided almost, and all huge moments. But where you need your biggest players to perform, you need your best players to perform or come up with a moment. But first and foremost, you've got to win that battle. I think we had great footballers. We had great teams, we had great managers, characters, but all people that were willing to roll their sleeves up and first and foremost win that fight. And that's what it was with Chelsea and us. I think that was probably a similar trait in both camps, that we were willing to fight and we're willing to beat people any which way they wanted.
Was there a different, and I'll ask you this question as well, John, was there a different vibe in training that week leading up to taking on a Jose Mourinho Chelsea, Rio?
Yeah, I think especially early. I think when he first came, no one was really ready for what he came with. He come from Porto. Yeah, he's won the Champions League, but we didn't really know what to expect or would this translate to the Premier League. And then by the time we woke up and realised Chelsea were too far ahead. Do you know what I mean? So we that first season, and I think did you win it for 2 seasons that when he came?
Yeah, back to back,
And it took us a bit of time to realise, because we were used and comfortable to kind of coming out the traps kind of slow with the confidence that we knew the turn of the year we'd catch any team up and beat them. And that's what had been going on prior to Chelsea and Mourinho coming into the fray. So once he used to take a start like that and they were relentless, they just continued. It was like, whoa, okay. And I remember the manager, but the season we won it and came back and won it, the manager said, listen, it's different now. We have to start as we mean to go on. We can't wait till Christmas now. We have to start focus day one pre-season, and that's what happened. And we kind of rejigged and we rebooted and came back and we won it back in that sense. But we knew we had to do something different this time.
What was Man United like, John? Obviously well documented. You said it on Rio's podcast, for goodness sake. You turned down Fergie. You turned down United to move to Chelsea. Coming up against Rio and that United team, was it different? Was that the big fixture for Chelsea?
Well, it was. I think not just the club as well, for me as well. It was always the big fixtures for me. I think, like Rio said, you know, it was always, you know, you could feel like, you know, some massive tension coming up to the week when you have to play against, you know, Man United. You know, the training is different. The atmosphere in the training ground is different. Everybody know, okay, it's time to put up 110% to be able to match these guys. We have, because for us, they were the team to beat. You know, we have to beat Man United. If you want to win the trophy back then, Man United were the team that you have to beat. So for us, the week before that, knowing that we have to be concentrated. Training, mood changes. Mourinho is on his whatever it is, you know, trying to make sure everybody is tuned in, everybody's ready. If you're not ready, he has to wake you up. So for us, knowing that these guys were the guys to beat, it just gives you that extra bit of motivation. You have to beat Man United if you want to win the trophy. It was just as simple as that.
And of course, Rio, you being at the back, you had a certain African king to attend with, Didier Drogba. How difficult was that?
Yeah, it was. I mean, listen, I've said this to Didier, and we've been together, and we've done different shows together, and I'm like, some game. I used to watch Didier and think, wow, he is destroying people. He is taking the mick with like big players, like players that we see and go, well, they're playing for big, great clubs, have great careers, win loads of stuff, and Didier is bullying them and taking the mick. And it's weird with Didier. I never felt on the receiving end of that, where a performance where I thought, oh, he's absolutely bullied the life out of me. But he came up with some big moments in those games.
Yeah.
So he didn't need to do that with me. And maybe that was just what our styles were conflicting, and that I was able to work with him. But he just found a moment in a game, and it was always the biggest games, where he would produce a moment. And the FA Cup final, extra time, where you won the league. You scored the goal. He's offside, by the way. At Old Trafford. He was offside.
No, it wasn't.
He scored a goal against us. And you guys won the league at Old Trafford. He scored the big goal there late on. There are two moments there where even in those games, I'm looking at it and thinking, I don't remember him playing really well in those games. But
that's
all of a sudden,
that's
him. This is what strikers live like this.
Yeah.
So he was one thing I loved about Didier, he was the character, the personality. You could see that he was smelling the aroma around big match day. He wanted to feel it. Some players want to put a gas mask on and say, don't give me this. I don't want to be a part of it. He's like, give me more.
Yeah, he enjoyed it. Yeah.
My character did. He demands this of himself. He wants to win. The biggest players, they want the responsibility to win the biggest games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give me 3 or 4 chances. I don't care if I miss them. I'll miss them. But then give me the 3rd or 4th or 5th chance and I'll score. That's it. So he was one of those guys, a top player and a good guy.
Yeah, we haven't really spoken about him a lot, John, on the pod. We've talked a lot about John Terry, obviously Frank Lampard, Jose himself. What was Didier like in that dressing room?
No, I think Rio just said it all there. I mean, he loved the big games. He was a guy who enjoyed, when it comes to like little games, when you play against like the FA Cups or, you want to try, when we play against the likes of Stoke, clubs like, he never wanted to play those games. For him, it was the big games. The big games was what he lived for. Champions League night, quarterfinal, Champions League, big games, Man United, Liverpool. That's where you see a Didier Drogba. That's where you can see from that week on a Monday leading up to the week on a Saturday, you can see his mood. You can feel that he's engaged. He wants that game. He loves that challenge, and because he knows the manager will turn on him, because the manager will come and say, Didier, we know you the guy who's gonna win this game for us. Yeah. He loves that. He also loves that a little bit of attention. Didier loves attention. It's like a woman. You pamper him, you give him a little bit of attention. And then he produces. So that's Didier. But no, big games, he was always there for us. He won us lots of big games.
I love, Rio, that you say he wasn't necessarily someone that would give you sleepless nights. You always felt you had a chance against Didier. Who's the striker then that maybe did give you sleepless nights during your career?
Yeah. I don't know if sleepless nights, but all of the big players, you spend extra care and attention on that before. The Thierry Henrys, the prime time Nicolas Anelka, the Van Persies when he was at Arsenal, the Bergkamps, the Ronaldos, like the Raúls, like these guys like Benzema's. You look around and you go, Aguero, wow. Yeah. You look at these guys and you just think like, I've got to be on it. Like Tevez, I've got to be on it. But it's funny, the player that probably gave me the hardest games was Kevin Davis.
What? Oh yeah,
man.
He was horrible to play against, though.
Yeah, just aggressive, and his styles make fights. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I wanted to be clean. I wanted to nick the ball and play, and sweep up and stuff. He just wanted to get hold of you and just keep you there and don't let you move. So he was one of my toughest opponents, I think. But the players that give me the biggest problems wasn't necessarily the biggest names. It was more the players that played in that like like a Firmino would have been a problem for me, the way he drops in. Do you know what I mean? That's the player who's asking you, do you want to come with me into midfield, or are you going to and leave a big hole in defense?
Or you want to stay there?
Are you going to stay there and let me go and get the ball and turn and be free? So Bergkamp, Zola, these type of players, Raul, they were asking me the harder questions in my mind about, do I stay or do I go?
We've spoken a lot about Jose Mourinho, Rio. Obviously, you never had the pleasure of playing under Jose. You did have the pleasure of playing under Sir Alex Ferguson, 26 years manager of Man United. People forget he was 8 years at Aberdeen as well, for goodness sake. One of the greats, if not the greatest of all time. In your own words, Rio, what made him so special?
I think his relentless desire to keep on improving, keep an appetite to win, but a desire to always evolve. You got to remember that 26 years and 8 years at Aberdeen, that's different generations. That's almost 3 generations of players that he's had to adapt the way that he approaches teams. You speak to the likes of Gordon Strachan and those guys who he had first at Aberdeen. His approach to those guys to when, fast forward when he was talking to the likes of Danny Welbeck and Tom Cleverley, his approach was hugely different. That takes intelligence, that takes understanding, that takes an awareness of where you are in your life as and your age, and talking to different generations of people. So his ability to evolve and adapt, I think, must be one of his greatest strengths, because that then enables him to have that longevity, to keep on churning out teams, turning teams over, and his ability to kind of get his teammates, his team on side and individuals on side. Like I've always said this about him, he knew my granddad's favourite drink. I mean, he knew my granddad. He knew if my mum was in hospital, he knew flowers would turn up. Like, these are little details that
little things like
they make you go the extra mile. Yeah, and then it becomes a sentimental. There becomes an emotional attachment. Then.
Yeah. I mean that's true. I mean, back in the day, obviously, when you guys win the trophies that you've won, and you come off a massive season, and you feel like, okay, you've won the league and you've won maybe the FA Cup or something like that, and then you look, and the next thing happens pre-season, and you see 2 or 3 players leaving, and you see 2 or 3 new players coming in, and you're thinking, hold on a minute, we've just won the league and we've just won the FA Cup. Why the change? But that was the thing about him as well. He was never scared of making the big changes. Yeah. He was never scared of letting the big players go. If you feel like, you're going to be bigger than the club, he'll let you go. He has always said it. There's no one is bigger than the club. Is that something that kept you guys on your toe? Did you guys, after season, you think, oh, who's coming in now? We know there's going to be a change. Is that something that kept you guys on your toes, really?
Yeah, I think we always knew that there would be someone coming in. I remember the season when when Cristiano Ronaldo signed. And we went to Sporting Lisbon. It was actually lucky that we signed him, because it was only on the disappointment of not signing Ronaldinho that summer. We tried to sign Ronaldinho and he chose to leave Paris Saint-Germain and went to Barcelona. I remember the manager devastated. And then on the tour, on the back end of the tour, we went to Sporting Lisbon to open the stadium with a game. Cristiano Ronaldo plays, and then the rest is history. But we always knew there was big players coming. And that summer, Veron went to Chelsea. Yeah, so a big player, he came in before, but he then left. So I always knew immediately that there was going to be a revolving door for players. If you come in and don't produce, you're gone. And there's no you're going to keep a player for 4 or 5 years who just isn't doing it. If you don't produce in year 1 or 2, good night. The club was not really. The manager was very, very decisive. But I think he always thought about, yes, you win, but what's going to spark a new kind of desire within this team and this changing room. Somebody new, somebody who brings something different, who's going to challenge other players. Like when we bought probably one of the best strikers in form in Berbatov that year, comes in, top goal scorer. Done the same with Robin van Persie. The manager says he'll win you the league. He won us the league. So in these things, it played out. He didn't just do it; he done it, and it played out.
I watch a lot of interviews with you, Rio. You've done a lot of podcasts. You've done Stephen Bartlett, CEO of Diary of a CEO, sorry. You've done the Fozcast with Ben Foster. And in every one of those, you talk a lot about the fact you weren't scared to stand up to Fergie. You and Fergie clashed quite a bit. Talk to us about that, the not being, coward by standing up to the boss, to the gaffer, to Sir Alex fucking Ferguson, for goodness sake. Where was that born from?
has always been my driving force. Growing up, I dreamt of playing for the Nigerian national team. My passion led me there. The support and unity of players and Nigerian fans led us to the final. Together, we won the African Cup of Nations. A moment that will forever be carved in my heart. Join the winning team with BetWinner.
I think the main part of it of like, listen, standing up to the manager and asking questions or questioning him or going against him in certain situations, like it wasn't often, but it did happen. But I think the only reason why I survived and I got through that is because I think he genuinely knew that I wasn't doing it from a selfish, egotistical point of view. It was very much from a team basis. And after probably most of those things, when we've had those confrontations, I may go to him after and go, listen, boss, okay, I do believe in what I said. I still stand by what I said, but maybe I should have approached it a different way, or I should have come to you when it was just me and you. But when the emotions are running so high in a team, and in the moment, sometimes I couldn't control that, and I'd go back, or we'd have an argument, and it'd be in front of the team. And now I look back now and say, okay, I could have probably chose my times better, but I probably still would go with what I went with at the time because I believed in what I was saying.
Was there an occasion, Rio, that he came through you? Is there one kind of instance that stands out where Fergie's come right at you and you've maybe not had a leg to stand on?
Not had a leg to stand on. No. I was always right. No. I mean, even the racism, the t-shirt, the kick it out t-shirt.
I remember that one. Yeah.
I refused to wear the kick it out t-shirt because I didn't believe that they kind of backed my brother in the situation with John Terry. So I just didn't wear the t-shirt. I said, I'm not wearing it. My mistake was I didn't tell the manager. But the manager's mistake was he done a press conference saying that all of his team will wear it. But he knew the situation that revolved around my brother, but didn't ask me. And I think after when I said I'm not wearing it, he went crazy in the change room before the game. Luckily, we won the game. And he didn't need to kill me anymore after. But I went and see him the next day, and we kind of just talked it out. And he was like, "Yeah, maybe I should have come and spoken to you before." Because he's an honest guy. That's what I liked about him. He was honest, and if he wasn't just wrong and strong. If he thought that maybe he could have done something different as well, I think he was man enough to own up to that, which was always, as a player, you kind of respected even more.
I loved as well, you've admitted, and this is a good one for you, John, a real candid admission from you, Rio, and going through all interviews with different footballers, I don't really recall footballers admitting to this, but I think it was the Champions League quarter-final against Bayern Munich over in Bavaria, over at the Allianz Arena. You were winning 1-0, Fergie's making a couple of changes, and you're thinking to yourself, what the fuck's he doing here?
Yeah.
Outwardly, questioning. And it's a question I'd put to you, John. Times your manager's made a substitution where you're looking, thinking, oh no, what's he doing bringing him on? Has that ever happened?
Oh, this has happened, of course. Mourinho has done that as well. He's the chief when it comes to, making those tactical changes, that we look at it, we're like, oh, hold on a minute, what's going on here? But then the player comes in and then it takes you 5 to 10 minutes to see exactly what he's done. And if there's a space, if there was, if we are conceding whatever it is in this space, he's trying to close the space, or if we see there's a space there where we can attack and create chances. The little changes that Mourinho made was that, he was a specialist in that, making those changes. And also when we have to defend, when we have to sit deep and defend and soak in the pressure and then counterattack. He was the best at that, and I'm sure also Fergie did that as well most of the time when you guys played.
Of course, on that occasion though, Rio, you went on to lose 2-1, so you were right to say, "What the fuck are you doing, Gaffer?"
Yeah, I was right again, man. I was right again. But you know what? It's Mourinho. Yeah, I love Mourinho. You know that he's one of the managers. Like, there's a handful of managers that in the game you think, I'd love to have played for him. I used to hear them at Chelsea boys at England talking about him, and I used to think, fuck, man, I wish that one day I could play for this guy. Because he seemed like he was a bit like Fergie. He was quite a personal guy, would talk to you and stuff. And then he's another one who's having to evolve with the times because he's going through a different generation of player. He can't treat these boys now how he treated you guys back then. Very different approach. So he's going through that transition, and it's interesting to see how that turns out and pans out for him.
Yeah, but but saying that as well, that's very difficult for him as well. And when he's trying to, because Mourinho is somebody, when he sees something, he has to say it. He has to confront you. He has to go at you. And because he feels, for him, that's the only way he's known how to get the best out of players. But right now, like you've just said, he's thinking, new generation, what shall I do here not to get in trouble? You know, he's trying to hold himself and not to attack the way he did to us. Because we were a different breed, obviously. We were a different generation. We could handle that. But the young boys now, the young kids now, you look at them, you think, can they handle that?
Yeah.
But just what you've just said. And I mean, it just shows how the game has evolved, really.
That's why I couldn't be a manager. I couldn't be a manager now. No chance, I don't think. I wanted to try when I was younger, when I first retired, but I don't think I could be a manager now because you've got to think too much about what you can and can't say, where you should be able to be a bit emotional still and be able to hammer people without being judged, without being told, you're bullying me and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. Joe Cole was our guest last week, Rio, and he admitted he was strong enough to take it. He was a bit of a punch bag for Jose. Jose knew how to press his buttons. Joe knew how to take it and how to then incorporate that into his training and then into his game. In terms of it United, who was the punching bag for Fergie? Who was the player that Fergie liked to go to because he knew he could handle it, essentially?
The older players. He'd always go to the experienced ones.
Yeah.
And you think like, I don't know, Giggsy would make one mistake in the game or something, the manager would get into him and you'd see Giggsy, like, his head would be like, doing his shit or something, and the manager would say something to Giggsy and he'd go... I'd say, like, there's about 3 or 4 of the others that have been absolute shit and you're coming to me. And then, you understand, he's digging someone out, he knows that it's not going to affect their performance. It's probably going to make that person, like a Giggsy or Gary Neville or even a Wazza, go and play better or just refocus. But the impact will be on the other 3 he knows he couldn't have gone direct to, but just because he's gone to Giggsy maybe, it's going to ripple effects going to hit them as well. That's how he can do it. So that's what was great about him. He wasn't a one-size-fits-all kind of approach. He was like, I'm going to adapt the way I approach certain young players, foreign players. Nani, Anderson, they may not at half-time be able to take that intense, like, verbal. So he'll have to go elsewhere to get to them. And it was really interesting when you see it, and you think about it. And we just talk about it quite a lot.
And then there's the fella Frank Lampard was to Jose, the fella that never gets bollocked, no matter what he does.
No, Frank never did.
Scholesy, I've seen Scholesy get red cards for stupid tackles. I've seen Scholesy the manager didn't. It's like the manager used to do that. Oh, what's happened? Scholesy got sent off. I'll look at the replay later. Sorry, guys. Anyway, you've been shit. Like mad.
Scholesy never. Scholesy is like Post-Ferguson, isn't it? To Mourinho.
It was.
No. Lamps was his favorite son. Lampard never got in trouble with Jose, not at all. I mean, we know of Lamps. Obviously, Lamps was a player who never, he was always a player who arrives in the box in the right time. Gets those goals, wins those games as well, just like Didier Drogba. But obviously, there's a lot of things that, during the game that Frank didn't do, obviously, when it comes to defending and trying to, track your man when it comes. So all of that, Frank got away with that from Jose. You know what I mean?
Oh, is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying? You used to clean up all of Frank's mess when he never used to track runners and that? Is that what you used to do? Oh, okay.
That was you, John.
That was me, exactly.
Okay.
So, of course, Jose had to come to me. So obviously, he had to find somebody to blame. So, he came to me. But Frank was his favorite son. Frank never got in trouble. And, I mean, we used to talk about it. But at the end of the day, he won us games. He scored lots of important goals as well.
A lot of goals. And we quizzed him, Rio. We quizzed Frank. It's the age-old debate, the Gerrard, the Frank, the Scholesy debate. You've played with all 3, Rio. You've played with all 3 for England. You played with Scholesy at club football. Who gets your vote, having seen all 3 up close and personal? If you had to choose one.
It's hard, isn't it? The one I enjoyed playing with most, and probably because I played most games with him, was Scholesy. Like I could give the ball to Scholes and just say, I could shout a name and he wouldn't look, but he'd find them, like crazy stuff. And he used to do stuff, even opposing players were going to me, like strikers who are marking, and I played the ball to Scholes and we're both watching. It's like we're at the cinema just watching someone perform. It's like, and I remember strikers going, does he do this every day? You get to see that every day. Like, no other player that I've played with, as I've heard other people talk about him like that. And he was just like, and what I loved about him, he dictated a game. He could decide a game at a certain time of his career. And he got other people playing better. So those elements as well, where you think, wow, and I can play him the ball in any circumstances, he wouldn't be ruffled.
Yeah.
Whether it's tight with people on him, I mean, he could beat the press with a feint of a shoulder and then play. Yeah. And he wasn't 6 foot, he wasn't big and strong, and he wasn't quick.
Yeah.
But again, like so that means that he's got something else even then. The mind, the mentality, the character, the personality, the tactical awareness. So I thought he was a genius. But
yeah. But then he's got the worst tackle in the Premier League.
Yeah. But the way I would probably go, I would go if I was a manager for a season, I'd probably go for Frank because I'm going to get 20 goals. I'm going to get my 20 goals out of him. If I'm a manager, I want that 20 from midfield. If I've got a striker who's getting me 25 and I've got a midfielder of 20 as well, I'm getting close to winning the league.
Wow.
If I want win a big moment and win a big game, I'll probably go Stevie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to go and pay, if I'm going to go and pay to watch a game and watch a player, out of them three, I'm going to pay to watch Scholes.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you've summed that up rather nicely there, Rio, to be fair. I'll take you back to Moscow 2008. It's a sore one for John. It's a sore one for all the Chelsea fans listening and watching this, but it's a heck of a memory for the Man United fans.
It was only penalties, man. It was nothing like that. The game was balanced. It was just penalties. It wasn't like they played us out of the park.
No.
It was just penalties, man.
Cracking opening 20 minutes. United bossed it for the first 20.
John, a win's a win, bro. A win's a win. Let it go, man. Let it go.
You can be honest though, Rio, you were shitting yourself when John was striding up to take that penalty to win it for Chelsea.
Oh mate, I was all over the place. I was one of the biggest reason why I was shitting him. I was a couple of penalties next. I was only a few penalties next, and then I was thinking, I don't even want one of these. Please don't let me take a penalty.
Don't let you take it.
I don't know how I'm going to even get there. We would have lost if I'd gone up there.
And then when John misses. Take us back there. Hits the post, it goes wide. You're into sudden death. You're still in the Champions League. Was there a feeling in that kind of line? It's our time. We're going to do this now.
No, the only time you feel like it's our time is when that person misses or your keeper saves it, like Edwin saved Anelka's penalty. And until then, it's still a lottery. You're just standing there hoping, you're praying. People that have never believed in God or superpower or higher power start believing.
But you were praying that day.
You're there going like this, please, man. Please, we've come this far. I might not ever get here again. Please, you start talking to the gods. So...
And then the final the next year.
Yeah, no. I could remember that final. It was so tense. It was so tense, that final. I remember I didn't play the game. I was on the bench. It was so tense. I mean, watching the game from the bench, I was like watching the atmosphere, the tension, and the players on the pitch. It was raining that day as well. It was soaking wet. And I could see the players, everybody was just going through emotions. It was like... And obviously we had Avram Grant, and I look on the other side. You have Sir Alex Ferguson. I could see him dishing out instructions and all and things like that. And you look at on our bench, you see Avram Grant sitting there like, I'm like, how the fuck are we gonna win this game today? There's no chance here.
But you know what? It was a game of two halves. Like we destroyed you first half.
It was.
We should have got about 3 goals in the first half. Second half, you had all the play. You hit you even hit the post, I think, in extra time as well. But it was just it was. I played in 3 finals, man, and the Chelsea one was the most tense, 100%, because it was 2 teams from the same country.
Yeah,
the stakes felt even higher. Do you know what I mean? I've got to go to England with those England players in the Chelsea team, and if we don't beat you guys, it's like, whoa, man. I might have to be injured for that meetup. So it's like it felt like there was more riding on it. It was weird.
And then the two finals that you talk about.
You see that though? Just to catch on that, what you just said, because he just losing a game, he feels like he doesn't want to come he doesn't want to go to the international to meet up with a friend. But nowadays, it's like,
too easy.
It's too easy. You lose a game and it's too much friendliness. It's like, you lose a game, okay, it's like, and then you call your friend and you go out for dinner the next day, a rivalry team. Like, it's too easy. That's my problem with this generation. It's not like there's something that I have against, but it's too easy, it's too friendly, it's too clean, it's too nice. I just don't.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Why do you think that is?
I think my reason why it is, say, for instance, I don't know, Frank Lampard or Steven Gerrard. I see them twice a year, home and away. And then I see them and have contact with them at England games, maybe 4 or 5 times a year at England as well. That's probably 3 because of injuries and suspensions. So I might see them on average 5 times a year and have contact with them. Now, these guys are chatting on social media every other day. If someone posts a picture, they're liking, they're commenting, etc. So it's like us. We've become friends with people who we never even knew or never met before. But because I've seen their stuff on social media, we're kind of a bit connected. So when I see you, it's like, yeah, man, we're cool. We're friends in that. And this is the generation now, and it's kind of we've got to adapt to them because we was very much like we was a resistance. We didn't want to chat to nobody. I didn't want to chat to Stevie. I was best friends with Frank. We grew up at West Ham. I hardly went out with him after because he's at Chelsea and I'm at Man United. We just fell out. We drifted apart because I want to win, he wants to win, and we don't want to be together. But these guys are so much different, and I think that will make the England team stronger.
That's a fair point.
Okay.
Yeah, it actually works in favour of the international team as opposed to the clubs. I want to touch on the 2 finals you reference.
Until they win.
Well, that's it. Barca in 09 and Barca 11. I speak to a lot of United fans and they've got their own views on this. What was the better Barca's team for you, Rio? 09 or 11?
11.
Or 11.
Interesting.
Like 09, we got beat, but we could have won that game. Like we had chances in the first 10, 15 minutes, could have been 3-0, right? And the game's very different. But they were a great team then, don't get me wrong. You got to remember Eto'o, Messi, Thierry Henry. Like they were a great team still then, yeah. But the way that the team played at Wembley, like it was men against boys. That was like I remember standing on the pitch after with the guys going, bro, that was the most embarrassing night of my life. Live in front of hundreds of millions of people. Like they played with us, and it was just like you could see the evolution of a Pep team. He was starting out 09 and then all of a sudden through to 11. This is a team. This is Pep. Do you know what I mean? They were building Pep's team, understanding it, but then this was the real Pep's team.
Yeah,
that 11 team was nasty. They were nasty. I think they beat any club team in history.
To play devil's advocate here, though, Rio, and I'm looking at you because you've already screamed at Fergie for substitutions that he made in 2010. You look at the starting 11. Did we not play, and I say we, you can tell I'm a Man United fan, did Man United not play into their hands? It was Valencia, it was Carrick, it was Giggs, it was Park, and he played a front 2 of Rooney and Hernandez. Mike Phelan, I caught up with Mike recently, and he said, Fergie, we debated it all week long, do we shut up shop? And Fergie said, let's roll the dice, we're Man United, let's go for it. Were United not a little too open? I take everything that you were saying, but did United not play into their hands a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I disagreed with the manager's tactics on that night, the first night one, especially in Rome. I remember because he pulled me up after because I was talking about with a few of the lads in the change room after, and obviously voicing my opinion. But Mick Phelan heard what I was saying and obviously got back to the manager. The manager waited months before he unloaded it on me. But
wow, okay,
yeah, but I just thought we're trying to we wasn't naturally a pressing team that would go on the high up the pitch and press the best teams. The best teams in Europe, the Chelseas, the Arsenal, the best teams in our league as well. We were respectful of what they had to offer, and we would sometimes say, right, okay, we'll meet you halfway. We're not going to go and drop on the edge of our box, but we'll meet you halfway, and then when we win it, we'll be effective and we'll release our guns. the Cristianos, Rooney's, Tevez, etc. But we'll stand middle of the pitch. We're going to go back, but we weren't really a team to go right. We're going to meet you really high and go and press the life out of you. And we chose to do that in those two finals, and it was probably our undoing. You're doing that against the team, the team probably who would prefer any team that any way you approach them would be their first case scenario would be, please press us. And that's when they were at their best. So I'm sure before that, all I was thinking, and I think now even more, that when Pep was getting his tactics and his teams ready in both of those finals, he was thinking, I just hope and pray my dream case scenario is Man United come out and press us. And we've done that both times.
Because you guys, and I'm looking at you, John, Chelsea, when it came to Barca, the physicality
we never pressed them. You can't press a Barca team. You can never press a because they'll pass the ball around you.
Yeah,
they will find a space to get out. They will pass the ball around you because they're so good at it. A Pep team, they're so good at it. It doesn't matter though if they make a mistake. They will continue to play the same way.
I always remember you Chelsea, you found a way to really stifle them, the physicality.
We did, we did, because we're very physical as well. We're very physical. We knowing that, we knew where to shot. We knew where to shot the spaces. Obviously, we know the left side is where we need to shot a bit more, because obviously we know that's where the great man operates from, the left side. He likes to come in from the left side and get the ball and then do his magic. So the left side is where we try to close a bit more. The right side is fine, but the left side, then you even if it's me playing as a holding midfield or Mikel playing as a holding midfield that day, our job that day is not to be too much into the game. We have to make sure our job was to defend the left side, because we know Ashley is gonna once in a while he wants to bomb forward. So our job is to stay there and make sure that left side is protected. So that's why they didn't have that great success with us as well, and it paid. We had success with it.
You did, and I'm laughing at you saying shut down Messi. The 2009 final, you and Vida, Rio, Guardiola has a little tactical change, and Messi's playing through the middle. You must have been shitting yourself then.
No. Again, like all we were thinking, I've not even got near him. He's not even come anywhere near me. He went into midfield and created that overload. So it was almost like 5 against 2 sometimes, 5 against 3 in there. And we're thinking like, there's no way we can. We were going spells of like 3 or 4 minutes without touching the ball. Now in a game of football, to not touch the ball for that long is a lifetime. So. And there were times in the game when me and Emmanuel were standing there going, there's not a striker within 20 yards of us each. Like, what the hell is going on? So it was just such a new experience. And you imagine seeing a new experience and new pictures in a game of that magnitude. Like, it's all right if you're seeing it in just like a Premier League game or a little cup game in the 3rd round or whatever. Time to work it out. Oh, next time I'll sort it out. This is a Champions League final. You're not going to get another time. Game over.
You've got to see the little man up close in 2 monumental moments. Of course, you had the big fella as a teammate for a number of years, Cristiano. We wouldn't be a podcast without asking about Cristiano. I know you're good mates. You saw him over in Saudi recently for the big boxing bout. The growth of Cristiano, Rio, what's the kind of story that you'll always tell at dinner parties about him that just encapsulate what Cristiano Ronaldo was all about?
I've never seen a player who cares about the details as much as him. His attention to detail and the consistency with which he cares about those details is different level to I've ever seen. No one's got near it. I've seen players that go, I'm going to do yoga, and they go and get into it, or I'm going to eat well, but it all doesn't come together and stick and stay. They might keep that little bit and keep doing that one, but then this one falls away, and then they'll find a new fad. And then this guy's consistency is crazy. Like, new ways in which, and always reading and looking up and researching on what's next. What's the next way of recuperating and recovery after games and training, or what's the next type of fuel does the body need to change and to be able to, when you get to 30, am I eating differently to before 30 now? Is my routine changing? I'm sure, listen, his routine now will be different to when he was young because of the age and the workload and stuff. And the data, I'm sure he's absolutely nailed on with it. And like, there's no stone left unturned with this guy. And we can talk about ability, and we can talk about his goals and his records and his trophies and his individual and team honours. But without that consistency and attention to detail, none of that happens.
Yeah, yeah. But do you think he obviously? I thought when you said you never seen a guy who cares so much about. I thought you were gonna say about his looks.
That as well. He'll tell you.
But then, yeah, I mean, like, let's say, I know, he was so dedicated to to what he, to the game, and I've always said that I will never discredit what Ronaldo has achieved as a player, as a person. What he's done for the game is absolutely mind blowing. He keeps breaking record upon record, and he's still doing it now. But do you think he thought himself, there's this certain guy called Lionel Messi that I have to beat. So he got a little bit too obsessed about training and wanting to beat Messi, to be the best in the world, to be the best ever. Whereas the other guy is just chilling and just, do you think Ronaldo got a little bit too much with the whole thing, with the whole rivalry thing? Or do you think it was just him just trying to win games?
Do you know what? I think it's just two different types of personalities. I think we've had it in tennis with Federer and Nadal. One shows their emotion, one doesn't. Yeah. I think Cristiano is an emotional guy, and you're always going to know how he feels because he gets emotional in situations and he'll show it and it comes out. And Lionel Messi is cold-blooded, the same, win or lose, he looks the same. You'd never know if you saw a picture of him if his team was winning or losing.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that either of them, and I could be wrong, but this is my belief, I don't believe either of them do what they do without the other pushing the other on. I don't believe that one doesn't think about the other. I think that maybe one thinks about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe Cristiano might think about it a bit more, but I do believe they both have used each other to keep growing and building and to achieve what they've done. Listen, nobody before, and I don't believe after, has ever done what these guys have done at the level they've done for as long as they've done it. There's people that have got to them heights, but they've never stayed there for more than 2 years, 3 years max. These guys have been there 15 odd years as the best. It's crazy, man.
And they're still going.
Yeah, and Ronaldo, there's mad stats. I think he hit 30 and he scored almost 400 goals. He scored more than some players in their whole careers after he hit 30.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah.
It is insane. Rio.
It's crazy. I was reading the other day. I was listening to beIN Sport. It was just some record that that for somebody to break his record, you have to. I mean, Haaland has to score about 40 goals per season for about 16 years.
Yeah, 43 goals. It's bonkers.
Not happening.
And be honest, because I remember his debut. He came off the bench against Bolton Wanderers, 2003. I think United won 4-1. And he was a bit of a show pony, Rio. Loved the lollipops. He was out in that wing. He still got fans off his seat. And I know hindsight's a wonderful thing. Could you have ever imagined that he would turn into the absolute... What he is he's a Clydesdale horse. He is just day in, day out, gets the job done. Could you have ever envisaged that?
No, I think we all, when we saw him and first laid eyes on him at that game in Sporting Lisbon, you could all see, wow, this is like a crazy talent. He could become the best in the world, this kid. That's what you think. But you don't think the amount of goals he's going to score. His ability to just win games on his own and relentlessly score goals at the rate that he scored. That's nowhere. I don't care who you were, Fergie. No one saw that. I don't care. He made that happen. He had the ability, like you said, he could have stayed and been a show pony and drawn the crowds in, week out, but doesn't impact the game with goals and assists. This guy, when he came, he was doing that. When he left the best player in the world who was deciding games, deciding league titles, the biggest trophies.
It is insane.
Yeah.
And what he then went on to do at Real Madrid. It's very rare you can be a legend of a club the stature of Man United and still have enough time left in your career to be a legend at another football club. And that's what Ronnie did. I want to ask Rio, I'm conscious of time and there's still so many questions for us to ask, but Fergie's departure, 2013, where were you when you started to hear whispers that Fergie was heading off into retirement?
I think your WhatsApp messages started going crazy the night before. And then before it hit the media, the day before it hit the media, and then on the morning coming in, everyone's texting each other. Have you heard the news? I think they're saying the manager might be leaving. And I always say this: how many times do you think the manager came into the players' change room at the training ground? Probably a handful of times in the 13 years that I was at the club. And one of those was to say, guys, I'm just telling you now before it goes in the media, I owe you that to tell you that before it hits the media, that I'm going to be leaving. Oof. And I'll never forget that you feel like the air almost sap out of the changing room, like, and everyone's looking at each other like, what? And I remember Robin van Persie signed because the manager was there, really.
Yeah.
His chance to win, but also because the manager was there. And I remember looking at him straight away because he hadn't had long with a manager. It was actually the only season he had with him. And he adored the manager, like all of us, but he was new to it. And I saw him and he was like almost in tears. He might have even been in tears, like, wow, what the hell? Like, how's he leaving, man? Like, this is why I've come here.
Yeah.
And the guys were kind of gobsmacked, really. But his reasons were, listen, he's family and stuff. He's a family-orientated guy. So the reasons were genuine and everyone was totally respectful of that.
You mentioned Robin in tears. Did you shed a tear, Rio?
No, I think not a tear, but definitely, listen, it's something that you think, wow, this guy, anything I've done at this club, he's been part of. He's helped. He's been a major driver in the fact that I've got a cabinet full of trophies and I've got to come to a football club of this size and stay there for this long. He's the one who pressed the button on it and said, yes, I want him. So to see him go out like that, it was, I never imagined that I'd be leaving the club after him. I thought I'd be walking out when of my time and he'd be going a long time after. But definitely gutted and devastated at the time, like all the players were.
Because I remember, John, you'll laugh at this, that summer, I was screaming, got to get Josie. Only man to replace Fergie is Josie. The only one that's got a big enough personality to come in and say, I don't care what Fergie did, the way he did it, I'm Jose Mourinho, I can do this. But then, of course, David Moyes comes in. The chosen one, as he was nicknamed, Rio. A lot's been said. Listen, I've had many conversations with David himself about this. Mistakes made. He chose Rennie Moulenstein, Mike Phelan went out, Steve Round, Phil Neville came in. I mean, your first impressions when David Moyes, that first day of pre-season, no Fergie, and it's David Moyes.
No, you as a professional, you give them, you want them to do well. You're giving him that chance and that time, definitely. But then a few things you see and you think, hold on a minute, this ain't the same line. I think the biggest thing for me was that there was always too much focus on our opponents in training. Like we're Manchester United, they're meant to worry about us more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we and what that does to a mindset is it presents an element, is there fear here? Is he a bit scared? Which then filters through to the team, and there's certain players and there's young and inexperienced players that all we're doing is talking about what if they do this, what if they do that. What about that? Forget to a point what they're going to. We know what they're going to do, but this is what we're going to do, and that's going to override anything that they do. And it was just that element there was. Well, I thought that there needed to be a bigger shift from thinking like an Everton manager to thinking like a Man United manager, and how we've been used to thinking, how champions think, because we're the champions at that point.
Yeah.
And when you're a champion, you're not worrying about other people. You're mindful. You're respecting your opponents, but you're not worrying about them, and that's what it felt like. But I do actually still feel sorry for David Moyes in that he had to follow that. That's big shoes to fill, man. Look at what we did, the amount of what I've said about the manager, Sir Alex Ferguson, just on his podcast. And then you go, okay, the Everton manager, David Moyes, comes in, who's got a great record, done great things at Everton, but coming to Man United is a whole different ball game after Sir Alex Ferguson. And I think even Jose Mourinho may have struggled even then, following Sir Alex Ferguson. So to think that David Moyes should come in and it'd be a free and easy run was crazy.
So I love listening to Rio talking there about he felt David Moyes was too much about the opposition. We've spoken on this pod. Jose set you boys up. It was all about negating the qualities of your opposition.
Of course it was, but we were built for. He kind of like built us for that. You know, he kind of built us to make sure that when we play the likes of Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, you know, we have to soak the pressure. We have to make sure we sit back and soak the pressure and then counter-attack. But then when we play against a lesser team, our focus was how can we break them down? How can we get the ball and, you know, try to score goals, try to make sure we create chances. But of course, when you played against the big guys, you know, the big teams, we have to make sure we sit there, because we know they're going to come at us. They're going to come at us because they have the ball players, like, like the Paul Scholes.
But you always knew though, John. I always sense that with Chelsea. We're going to be hard to play against, but watch when we get the ball, we're going to hurt you.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Yeah. So we knew that, but for us, because obviously that's what Mourinho wants us to do, and if you're not doing that, you're out of the door. You're not playing. So you have to follow the instructions. You have to make sure you follow instructions and just play to the instruction of what he's giving you. But I mean, these guys were, United.
I do it. Just different mentalities I find really interesting, Rio. And you've said there you wanted to give David a chance, and then he was out in his ear by the April. You're literally, Man United have gone from Fergie to no manager in the space of 8 months.
And he signed what? 8-year contract he signed or something like that?
6-year contract, wasn't it?
6 years, I think. Yeah, 6 years. But it is that the club just changed dramatically. You don't forget David Gill, Mr. Gill left then as well. He was a huge cog in the machine as well. So when two big personalities and two big influential characters of the football club leave in one go, there's a big void. And there was a bit of a vacuum. You look at it and you look back and you think, well, people need to make sure that those situations are cared for and looked after prior to the manager leaving, but it wasn't taken care of properly with hindsight.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about the care, and you've mentioned this fella already tonight, Thierry Henry. We've seen a big admission from Thierry this past week that he was in some dark places during his playing career, and it got me thinking, Rio, 2003-04, that 8-month spell away from the game. How were you mentally back then? When you look back and you hear Thierry saying, listen, there were dark moments, even at the pinnacle, I was winning trophies with Arsenal, I had my dark moments. That 8-month period for you, Rio, is that the worst 8 months up there, worst 8 months of your life?
I think it was the worst 8 months in football because we're doing the thing that we love. We're playing the game that we love. John will tell you if you're injured, it's just like depressing. You're sitting there, you're being stopped from doing what you love to do. Like anyone has something, a passion that they love, and you get told you can't do it. It's like, what? Are you scratching your head? What do I do? And add to that I felt I was hard done by and treated very differently to people that had gone before me. So I was almost like a guinea pig, and I was going to be used to kind of like, now there's new rules and regulations. Now we're going to start with you. But the rules and regulations only came in, the new ones, so to speak, only came in and were implemented once my case had started. And they were, okay, we're going to use you now as that guy. So that's where I felt kind of hard done by, and that made it harder. But I was talking about it, funny enough, with one of my friends. I probably never trained harder in my whole life than around that 8 months. I probably had the least amount of time off I've ever had in my career in a period of time then. And I just applied myself, and it was all about just focusing on who said I'm not going to come back, who said I shouldn't come back, who said I shouldn't play again, and use that all as fuel. And then I came back and I hit the ground running, and it was like I've never been away really.
Did you do that, Rio? That I find that fascinating psyche. You were looking at what journalists were saying, fellow players were saying, what pundits were saying, and you stored that and you used that as fuel.
Yeah, I read every article. I read every. You don't see as much now. Listen, with social media, there's much more to kind of consume. But every single paper that went out and that my name was in, I had it. I read it. With radio, I'd find out. I'd go and try and get the tapings of it and listen to it. And I know that geezer there said that. He said that. That was all just fuel. That's why when I look and I hate saying our generation, but that's when I look sometimes at some players today and they're like, oh, I feel like I'm being criticised too much, and it's like, it's not fair. And I'm thinking, bro, you haven't even been criticised properly. You've not been told you shouldn't pull a shirt on again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you've not been told that you shouldn't come back to this club ever again, and you shouldn't be allowed to play it anymore, and you should be banned for 3-4 years or whatever it is. But or do you know what I mean? Or people lying about you even, and you're going into your personal life and going through your phone records and all this stuff that starts unfolding and unraveling. You think, right, I'm meant to be just playing football here, but this is even bigger than that. But
wow,
when I see people like moaning about being criticised just for playing football and making a mistake, I'm sitting thinking, wow, you guys you must be weak.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it just comes back to same thing. I mean, I know it's not a similar situation, but obviously, Ivan Toney as well, who's coming back now. In January, he must. I mean, if you have a bit of advice, something you can tell him right now, what would you say to him? Because I listened to his interview the other day. He said, he's
ready.
Similar to what you've just said. He's ready. He's been doing his stuff behind the scene as well.
Yeah, I just hope and pray that he's worked. And he's worked at an intensity that's going to be anywhere near to what he's going to be required when he starts playing in the Premier League again.
Pitch,
because if he hasn't, we'll quickly find out. He might get through game 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe. But beyond that, there'll be little niggles, there'll be injuries, and it will catch up because the body can't allow for any half measures. When you're playing at the level the Premier League requires you to play at physically, you have to be fine-tuned and ready. And if he hasn't put those hard yards at the intensity required, then we will find out. But looking at him and hearing him and listening to him, he sounds like he's done the work. He's done them hard yards. So good luck to him.
We'll finish up, I guess, taking it. Great, John, that you've brought it to present day. Ivan Toney, of course, back in January. Got to get your thoughts on this current Manchester United side.
Do you think, though, before you go, do you think he's the player that Arsenal need if they have a chance of winning the Premier League this season? Do you think Ivan Toney is the player they need to be able to say, okay, we will be there. We will not saying 100% to win it, but to get them closer to at least saying they have a chance come the end of the season. Do you think Ivan Toney is that player they need in terms of goals as well?
Listen, his goal record's been really good in the Premier League. I think Arsenal, they need somebody who's going to be in and occupying centre-backs in the penalty area.
Yeah.
I think Jesus is, I think he's a teammate's dream. I think every player loves playing with Jesus because they feel that because he offers himself so much to the team. He does everything that you'd want as a teammate. He'll help you out. You're in a bad position. He'll run the extra yard. He'll chase down opponents. He'll keep possession of the ball, play people in. But I said this to him when I was with him, when I interviewed him a while ago. You get your goals in the box.
Yeah, in the box.
If you're disciplined and you stay in the box, you get your goals. And that's where you're going to be judged.
Yeah.
And he smiled. And I think he's got that Brazilian laid-back, want to play football, man. I want to enjoy the game vibe.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think Ivan Toney is probably a bit more focused on being in the box and want to score goals. So he might suit Arsenal, but have Arsenal got 100 million? Brentford, I don't think Brentford sell for any price in this window.
Yeah.
If he
not this window though, but in the summer probably 60, 70, probably he can go for that.
Maybe summer might be too late. That window might go. I don't know. It's a hard one. I'm not sure. I'd like to see Toney, no disrespect to Brentford, but at a bigger club, and to see what he can do. Because I think he's had a great journey, a journey that's unconventional. Where I think it'd be nice to see him cap it off at a big club and see now what you're going to go, what you're going to do.
Got to talk about your beloved United, Rio. Where to start with this? Firstly, you've come in, and I'd imagine a lot of people kind of poke fun at Ollie's at the wheel, give that man the contract. Have you in some ways been vindicated? I won't reveal who I was talking to this past week, but I was talking to a member of a club who analysed Man United under Ollie. He said to me, Man United under Ollie were one of the toughest teams. They were up there with the Peps and the Jurgen Klopps to play against. They went to their home stadium. They passed them off the park. They won. Have you been vindicated somewhat by United's struggles? What was it, 33-game unbeaten run away from home? Bruno Fernandes was scoring and assisting. United were finding goals easier to come by. It's a lot different now under Erik-10 Hag.
Yeah, if you go back to when I made them comments, I'll probably say 95% of the fan base were probably saying the same thing because they were on an unbelievable run. They just beat Paris Saint-Germain in Paris, and they were flying at the time. And you're thinking, wow, this looks unbelievable. This is a bed of roses at the moment. You've got to give him the job. Ollie couldn't have done no more at that time.
Yeah,
so to give him a contract wasn't like an outlandish statement. It's just the way that I presented it. Obviously, with time, you can shape that how you want. Yeah, but that's fine. I'm cool to be a meme. That's not a problem. But I mean, I bet Ollie's sitting there now and going, okay, the job's not that easy, is it, for people? Like I weren't doing that bad, was I? And he could justifiably say that, but I just think that it's what we're finding. It's not necessarily going to be one thing's going to fix this. It's not just a manager that's going to fix this. We've had managers of different levels, different experience come in, and all have had the same outcome, been shown the door. So what else is it? It's the framework within the club. It's the structure behind the scenes. And I just hope now that the new guys that are coming in Ineos group, who have experience in sport, have experience in different sports, but also in football, can come in and really shape this club now into a really well-oiled machine that will begin to know how to function really well off the pitch and doing best of practice off the pitch, and then that can filter through to the team. Because I think if it's not functioning behind the scenes and the system isn't working behind the scenes, then on the pitch it's not going to happen. You look at the best clubs when they run. Liverpool, when they were winning, everyone's talking about Michael Edwards and the team he had behind the team. At Liverpool, it wasn't just Klopp. You got Pep Guardiola. Before he came there was two people that went in there to set the standards, set the ball rolling behind the scenes, and now look what they've built there, among other people being put in behind the scenes. So foundations of the club give you a chance on a platform to perform.
You've spent time with Eric. I know in your guys at TNT Sports, you've had a lot of FaceTime with him. What's your vibe from Eric Ten Hag, Rio? Do you like him? Do you feel he is the right man for the job?
Yeah, I like him. I've got a good rapport with him, and I think more than liking him, I can see that he's desperate to win. He's desperate to make it change and make it work. You can see that. You can see he's very diligent and he's meticulous, and he seems a little bit like he's one of those guys who's finicky, trying to work things out to make his team better and make his team win. But unfortunately, at the moment, the team hasn't shaped up. They haven't found the consistency. I think that's one of the big key words, the consistency. You get a performance out of Man United every now and again, and you think, okay, they're back. This is us. They do it to us all the time as fans. Right, we go, okay, guys, we're back. We're back in the WhatsApp group now. We're throwing a few texts about now we're in again. And then they fall over again, and then they produce one of the performances we've been used to, where it's drab, it's a bit offbeat. And I spoke to him before the Galatasaray game, and he mentioned the injuries. It's not an excuse, but we've had a catastrophic amount of injuries. And he is right. But at the same time, listen, man, when the club spent almost over £1 billion, that kind of excuse or argument kind of gets negated a little bit, and people don't hear it as strongly because of the amount that you've spent.
Yeah, I know we ran out of time. I mean, I just have one more question, and then I mean, we had Jose Mourinho here, and we obviously, I know you must have seen it. When you asked him who did he think who was going to win the Premier League, and obviously, you saw his verdict with City and Liverpool. But do you think that Jose curse is actually the curse is actually affecting Arsenal? Because ever since that interview or podcast, whatever it is, they've won what?
1 in 7.
1 in 7 games. I mean,
Jose needs to go and get a deal with a betting company, or if he hasn't got one already, because he knows what he's talking. He's the one who said. Remember, he said when he left Man United, and everyone thought he was crazy.
Bet winner.
He said,
I need to get him to sign with Bet Winners.
There's more stuff going on behind the scenes. Finishing second is my most successful season I've ever had at Man United because of what's happening. And now we're all seeing it. He knew. He just didn't tell us. And he knows about what's going on with Arsenal. They've hit a brick wall. He called it before it happened. I think because Arsenal don't have a number 9 who's going to get 25 goals this season, that they're going to come up short again. Yeah. I think City have got the experience, and they've got the know-how, and they've got the talent, and they've got Pep.
City, for you, Rio, they still win the league?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, comfortable.
They'll get the job done. And I'll ask you this one as a United fan. Is Eric Ten Hag still Man United boss at the start of next season?
Ooh. he needs to have a massive upturn in performances and results for me to say yes at that.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, Rio Ferdinand, you've given us more than enough time. Absolute pleasure to have you on the Obi One Podcast, made possible by Bet Winner. 5 is going strong. I was going to say, where can we find you? Yeah. We find you everywhere on the fucking internet right now. Rio.
Saudi, man. Saudi. He lives in Saudi right now.
Hey, I'm going there soon. I'm going back to there soon, man. I'll see you there.
Are you there for the Fury Usyk fight?
I will be, yeah. I'm making plans.
Of course. And I know you're a boxing fan. Ngannou AJ. Come on, give us a prediction. Who wins that fight?
AJ. Ngannou can't beat AJ.
Ngannou.
I like it.
I don't think boxing allows Ngannou to win that fight.
Oh, okay, true. Okay, there you go. That I accept. If you put it that way, then I accept that way. I accept it. Yeah.
Ngannou for me as well. I reckon Ngannou sparks him. Rio, top man, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on the pod.
Cheers, big bro.
Cheers, guys. Love
Thank
to
you
see
so
you,
much.
Man.
Thank you, man.
Amazing.
Thanks you, Joel, as well.
Thanks,
Cheers,
Joel.
pal. Thank you.
Winning has always been my driving force. Growing up, I dreamt of playing for the Nigerian national team. My passion led me there. The support and unity of players and Nigerian fans led us to the final. Together, we won the African Cup of Nations. A moment that will forever be carved in my heart. Join the winning team with BetWinner.